there's anything that defines the word quintessential, it's Tetris for the Game Boy. I wouldn't for a second recommend that people only play one Game Boy title, but if for some bizarre reason you were only able to get hold of one, then make it this one. In the same way that North Americans in the mid to late 80s referred to playing video games as playing Nintendo, the Game Boy was often dubbed the Tetris machine, and not without reason. Tetris was not originally designed for Game Boy, of course. There's a very interesting and controversial history behind this game's journey to the West, with licensing issues featuring Atari and Nintendo, as well as two separate developers creating NES ports. All of this happened before 1989. By the time the Game Boy was ready to hit the shelves in North America, Tetris was firmly under the stewardship of Hank Rogers' Bulletproof Software and Nintendo, and was the perfect title, by intuition or fluke, who cares, to pack in with the system. It cannot be understated how important this game was to the success of the Game Boy, and still is to its undying legacy. This is the definitive version of one of the most well-designed, addictive, enduring, hell, one of the best video games of all time. No less than creator Alexei Pajitnov has stated that it's by far his favourite version, as it most closely captured the essence of his original design. It's true that any other iteration, past or present, is inevitably compared to this one, and they all fall short, bar none. For those of you reading a book about the Game Boy who don't know what Tetris is, it's the essence of simplicity. It's the original falling block puzzle game, often imitated, never improved upon. Puzzle pieces, or tetrominos, arranged in 7 configurations of 4 blocks, hence tetra, fall from the top of the screen down onto a board 10 spaces wide by 20 high. The aim is to align horizontal rows of 10 blocks, which will then clear away, dropping the rest down. If any part of the construction reaches the top, it's game over. Up to 4 rows can be removed at any one time, garnering much bigger points. After a certain amount have been cleared, the level and speed of descent increases. There's also a Mode B game, which, rather than having an empty grid, features a random assortment of blocks that you need to clear out, following the same rules. Tetris isn't strictly a puzzle game, as there are no set patterns to winning, nor is anything predetermined. No, it's arguably the most elegant and pure example of a strategy game, whereby the balance between risk and reward holds the key to the most massive scores. You need to calculate how high you can build those towers, saving that single solitary column for the blessed straight piece, while weighing up the chance that you might not get it at all. The frantic speed of the higher levels means good hand-eye coordination is a powerful weapon, as one slight wrong move and catastrophe can quickly befall you. The game really excels too with the link cable, one of the few legitimate reasons to use it in my opinion. By clearing lines, you force more blocks to drop onto your opponent's screen, making for an incredibly frantic duel. You control either Mario or Luigi, because who else, right? And can play multiple round competitions. The music is super catchy, with a choice of Russian-style folk and classical. The sound effects are simple and well made. Visually, you can't ask for more. What originally was famous for being a colour game was transposed so well to a monochrome that the game wasn't hindered in the slightest. The simplest of fixes to a problem that would plague many titles that came after it. The game sold 35 million copies, which is astronomical to say the least. 4 times the amount sold for the NES. Indeed, from 1989 until the release of Wii Sports in 2006, Tetris was topped only by Super Mario Bros. For the NES in terms of the highest-selling single console title of all time. This is an outrageous statistic for a monochrome game on a handheld that was decidedly primitive, even next to other handhelds of the time. Similar to how Wii Sports opened up video games to people who ordinarily didn't care, Tetris was embraced by all demographics, from old people to commuting bankers. This didn't suffer from the stigma of video game, it was just a game, a challenging alternative to the daily crossword. An even more pleasing statistic for Game Boy fans is that until the PS2 came along, the Game Boy was the highest selling console Not just handheld, but any video game system of all time. More than the NES, Super NES, Mega Drive, PlayStation, you name it. It's no stretch at all to say that Tetris was a huge factor in this success, possibly the biggest. It quickly became the defining game for the system, and never lost that accolade. What a perfect fit. At the start of this book, as we are right now, I can't definitively state this, but I'd wager there's no game more of a soulmate to the Game Boy. I'd absolutely love to see it if such a thing exists, but I don't think it possibly can.